What's good YouTube, and welcome to the house with YouTubing's favorite show, where I show you actual case ratio pulls from major vendors and other people who happen to have busted product, and Reddit goes, John Moore's trying to jack up the prices, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's falling into the vendor's agenda of raising the prices, and the vendors are actually just trying to show why their prices are what they will be, and then also having problems with fulfillment since Konami's finally jacking with the ratios of secret rares in the core sets. And then Reddit later goes, wow, I opened up a couple cases and it seems like this is actually correct data. It does seem like there's less impermanences than the other cards. It seems like, wow, the ratios are actually off in the core sets. It's weird that that's been happening set after set after set, and every time I throw up this data, even with sources, people go, man, it must be the vendors trying to really mess with the prices before the set release. And just a week later, guess what? Everybody gets their hands on the set. So let's just go ahead. I can rant about that later. Let's go ahead and get you guys the data you've come here for, starting with the secret rares and then the ultra rares as well. Tier 0's 20 cases here show that our anti-mech kaiju is oddly one of the shorter prints, along with, unfortunately, good old Thanos Dragon, Phantasmy, and Pot of Extravagance. So, Pot of Extravagance does look like one of the chase cards. Tier 0, of course, puts their pre-sales up not knowing the ratios of what's actually going to be there, and it looks like they did call it pretty well, which is strike. I'm actually kind of surprised this doesn't end up being a shorter print, or even Psychic Wielder. How am I supposed to say that? I don't know. Trickstar Live Stage actually, oddly enough, seems to be overprinted, with Light Stage not getting hit on the F and L list. This is another weird one for me. But yeah, you can kind of see 3 different levels of ratios, and it actually gets backed up by another 5-case ratio pull we're going to show here in a bit. But it's been 3 secrets every single set that seem shorter now. And it's continuously been 3 different secrets each set. It's just weird to hit this point. Now, the ultra rares, I'm not as confident in the variance. It does feel like some are shorter, but then we see conflicting data between these 2 sets next. So I feel like ultra rares could just be kind of luck of the draw where they end up at secrets. And definitely whenever we've seen this kind of data have shown what is shorter. And it doesn't seem like that big of a jump, right? You're supposed to get 3 of each secret per case. But now, when you don't get a playset in a full case and people are spending 680, 720 on these cases and not getting a playset of a card for an event, that's where it gets pretty dang crazy and upsetting. So, like, some cases, because it's 2.4, will see 3 Extravagance and muddle up the data, but then a lot of others want another weird thing. So I need to mention this now. Another weird thing about this set that Tier 0 told me is some boxes only had 1 secret and some had 3, meaning that if you're not going for a larger pool, then you might lose out. They also said some cases ended up having extra secrets, which is why the ratio per case might seem a little weird here. Out of their cases, they said some actually did, and we'll see that data also supported in the other case pools here. Don't want to murder your name. TCG Atsenjins. Hopefully I'm not murdering that. He opened 60 displays, which I assume mean boxes, and he gets 121 secret rares out of 120, meaning only one of his cases seems to have had an extra secret rare, but again, he got an extra. And we see 13 Phantasmy Dragon, we see 12 Pot of Extravagances, and we see 10 Super Anti-Kaiju War Machine Mecha Thunder King, and his pulls also being all of his lowest pulls on secret rares over the course of 5. That's a big think, guys. Also, tying for his most pulled is also the Trickstar Live Stage, so it also seems to support that data that it's up there. But he's pulled an equal amount of which is Strike and Valkyrie Sext. So, Borreload Savage Dragon, he pulled 19 of, which is kind of mid-high, and he pulled the lowest of Corbane. This is why I think it's weird, because he also pulled the most, almost, of the Danger card, whereas out of the 20 cases for Tier 0, we see they actually pulled some of the least of the Danger card, good old Ogo Poggers, whatever Nadir calls it, and then we look around and their Borreload Savage Dragon isn't terribly off, but it is one of the lower pulls. We kind of see 3 tiers start to develop here, so this is why I'm not as confident. He seems to have pulled more of the Danger, and it could just be by area, but the scarier thing here is Trickstar Korobane is Tier 0's lowest pull. Now, don't want to make you have to remember that picture I just showed you, but but Trickstar Korobane also happens to be TCG Atsingen's lowest pull as well. This I'm not as confident in with the Ultras in talking about shorter prints, but it doesn't seem like coincidence. Again, we do see different varying levels of pulls here. It is interesting to see it develop out 5 cases, the small differences versus 20 cases where it gets bigger. And the whole point of these videos are to talk about how the fallout will be on the secondary market from something like Pot of Extravagance being one of the lowest pulled secret rares out of all of these pulls. And when we look back, all these sets have had 3 secret rares be shorter, and it's happening here again. Once again, right in front of our eyes. So, am I misleading you guys by showing you something that's public on Facebook from a guy I don't even know, and a sponsor that I have known now for a decent chunk of time? That is not my intention, and I'm not blind to it. I get where you guys can think, man, John's really trying to raise prices for his sponsors. Like, Tier 0? They excel at pre-sales. They have made a lot of their sales. They're not trying to juice the extra out. They've made their money. Now it's at the point where it's like, all right, this is what's happening. This is what's coming out. It's Thursday over in Europe. They're able to bust their product open and start fulfilling pre-sales, and they look at their 20 cases and they're like, yikers, there's gonna be maybe a couple less Pot of Extravagances than I thought I had to give out. I'm gonna have to order some other product and fulfill that quick, or nudge buddy over here for a couple of cases. Like, what's realistic about this is that it shows what the actual vendors are going to have to go through from not having the guarantee in core sets. Like, usually it would be off just a little. Now, we're no stranger to short prints in side sets. That happens every single side set. A card will only be in every other box. That's like the Hidden Arsenal-like sets, Fusion Enforcers, if you will. That's the norm for side sets, and we got it the worst in the Secret Forces, so we're no stranger to this happening. But I think you're really pulling the wool over your own eyes at this point if you're not looking at Flood and looking at Impermanence price right now and literally starting to roll the math if there's only about 2 of those versus the old ratios, right? So old ratio cards that used to be $120, which is what we're not hitting yet, like Dark Destroyer, right? Well, they would be at less of a pull rate by half in a case, because now the secrets are doubled. But when you pull it back by a third, the price ends up at 90 instead of 120, because if it's double, it would just be 60. Supply and demand. Supply and demand. The actual math checks out that Impermanence, a card used as a 3 of, ends up at $90 if it is 2 per case, which is, you know, the 120's right up there. You can almost grab it from the old ratios. 120 was one of the most common prices for secrets looking back, like Rescue Rabbit, the Mermail Abyss Megalo, like stuff like that. 120 became kind of this crazy price that would consistently be there for secret rares, and we haven't had to deal with that for a long time thanks to these up case ratios, but that's what's happening with them. My vested interest in showing you guys this is giving you the tools and data to make your next decisions, which, yes, to an audience of maybe 10,000 people will watch this video, guess what? They're going to take that information and do something with it, and there will be a real-world effect. That can directly happen, but the other thing that happens is just the statistical math behind it. What is happening with this? It's going up. Should Nightmare Ibli as a one-of index back in the day have been $30? No. No, a one-of like that, it should have been 15, 18, reaching 20, because it's a one-of. But guess what? It was shorter printed, harder to get, and what does that lead to? That leads to demand, which leads to people buying it naturally, which leads to it going out. Now, I understand my channel does revolve around the market. I understand my pull in it, and I understand what I am doing by giving this data to my audience. I am giving them the tools to understand if I buy a sealed product, this could happen. I could only get 1 secret, or I could get 3 secrets. If I'm buying cases, I might get an extra secret. Stuff like that is happening with the set, and I'm going to report on that every time when I have a reliable source. And I understand that I have a vested interest in this reliable source. You know why Troll and Toad is up here above me, and I constantly get their case ratios? They only give stuff to the Zodiac tournaments. What's gone from Troll and Toad into my pocket since I stopped buying and selling cards? floating zero. It's all gone back to my audience and Zodiac and the Zodiac tournaments, yet people are still wary of them being up here above me. I put them up here because they do stuff back for the community, because they give back through me and Robbie Cole, and that's why I proudly put them on front of videos. They have nothing to give me. They have not been giving me anything, and I can just publicly say that. Tier 0, I get something when you use that promo code. There is a vested interest there, and that's why I want a secondary data source, such as TCG, Ats and Gens here, to be able to show you guys what's going on. But thanks for watching. Hopefully that gives you some perspective from where I come from, and what I want to give to you guys when I actually hand this data out. And I got really wrapped up into it. I don't know if I did toss this out. I feel like I compared the danger card, but here is the Ultra Pulse again from 20 cases from our good old friends at Tier 0. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the discussion, and I know I get heated. It's just like, there's so many conspiracy theories around the channel that even my dog controls the secondary market for her own purposes, so true. I have to give that one some truth, right, Bonnie? Good job, Bonnie.